Happy Hump Day, and welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, your one stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people at Fan Arc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard. But you know by now that the people out there, they call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, watching along with us. Be sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comments section. We do love interacting with the Hornets Daily family, watching you guys converse with each other down in the comment section as well. Again, we're continuing to build out that Hornets Daily family and grow in numbers that way as well. Again, it's a Wednesday show today. Not a whole lot on the docket, but there is a little bit buzzing around the Queen City, and you know that's what we do here. We bring that to you. Khan and KJ were given some awards while out in Vegas. The first and second team All Summer League has been announced. Khan and KJ found their names on that list. We'll tell you about that. At least one expert sees Liam McNeely having a big role, making an impact on the NBA roster early on. Jonathan Wasserman, a Bleacher Report draft expert, explains that he thinks McNeely is going to skip the G League and come and be a part of the NBA rotation right from the jump. Not necessarily in a starting role, according to Wasserman, but he does see McNeely being able to come off the bench, use his athletic ability on the defensive side of the ball, and be a shot maker on the offensive side of the ball. Again, in a coming off the bench role for McNeely. So Wasserman sees him playing a big role early in his career. Another NBA expert, Grant Hughes, gave the Hornets a B on their overall offseason grade. And now you say that doesn't sound bad. A B is not awful, but the culture is changing. Things are shifting here in Charlotte, and that's not quite good enough for what this new regime has or has done. Not a lot. It was described in the article that I was reading as not giving a lot of love to the Hornets, not as high of a grade as it should be. People feel that an A is what the Hornets have earned this offseason with what Peterson and the rest of the front office have done. I would be in line to agree with that. But again, just receiving backlash from a B speaks volumes to the culture change happening not only in the building but amongst the fan base here in Charlotte, as well as not long ago under the old regime. In recent memory, a B would have been a fantastic grade. But again, things are changing. It's a new time here in Charlotte, and a B just doesn't feel right for all the good moves that the front office has made so far here in the offseason. And as you know, as we've mentioned, we're going to dive into our roster or depth chart preview. As it currently sits, we know there's probably still some changes incoming, a few names on the way out, maybe a new name on the way in. We'll have to see as that unfolds further down the line this summer. But we will start with the big men who are currently on the roster and how it sits here today. We'll go over the front court, the fours, the fives, and the wings. We'll tell you a little bit about them today as well. That comes at the request of Mr. Lucky704. Again, appreciate you down in the chat as always, and everyone who is interacting down there. Thanks for doing that. You know how we feel around here about beating around the bush on Hornets Daily. We do not do that, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into today's action. As we mentioned, Khan Knipple and KJ Simpson have found themselves on the All Summer League list. Both backcourt members for the Hornets made the second team All Summer League. Not a bad honor, a good thing to have happen, a promising sight for the future with two young men being named to the All Summer League team. But I would argue, as you know, this is a KJ Simpson podcast. I say it all the time. We do it here. We love KJ Simpson on Hornets Daily due to his performance in the Summer League. I would have argued he should have made the first team, especially based on the Hornets being undefeated, winning the championship, and KJ being pretty much the best player on the floor every night he was out there. Averaged 16 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, and 5.7 assists per game during this run out in Las Vegas. And I easily thought that would have been enough to put him on the first team. But again, that comes with a little bit of bias here. I'll be happy to admit that. Khan, however, I do think was in the right spot. He had a nice performance out there, looked good, showed some promise as to why he was the fourth overall pick. But I think second team is the right spot for him to have landed on. Khan finished averaging 15.6 points a game, 4.8 rebounds a game, 3.8 assists a game. We know he set out one game while out there and did struggle offensively in his first game. So I think second team is probably a good spot for the Hornets rookie. Now, as we know, Tajon Salon more than likely would have been destined for one of these two teams as well, as he was putting up really good numbers, putting on quite a show during his time out in Vegas. But I think the rest not playing in the back three games, probably enough to keep him off of the first or second team list as well. But I do think his improvement, his development was definitely trending in the direction of being on one of those teams had he continued playing out in Vegas. Now we'll go ahead, folks, and dive right into what we've been talking about, what we've been waiting on. The depth chart preview, more of a roster breakdown, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I know who's going to start where, who's going to play here, and who's going to be the two, the three at this position. That's not my job here on Hornets Daily. I'm just bringing you all the news and updates from the Queen City. So we'll be more of a roster breakdown than a full-blown depth chart preview, but we will go over who is currently on the roster in the front court for today on on the Charlotte Hornets. Again, start with the front court. We'll go with the back court tomorrow. So let's break down. Let's jump right into that as well. Currently on the roster, listed at the 5 position or centers for the Charlotte Hornets, we've got Moussa Diabate, Mason Plumlee, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. So just 3 names, 2 of which are very young. But Mason Plumlee, we know he was brought in as a veteran, a more experienced big man center in the NBA. He's spent some time here in Charlotte as well. We know it's a return back to the Queen City for the former Duke Blue Devil. How will age and his experience impact the 2 younger guys also at that position? Is he going to rub off and be able to show them some things? I think he can really benefit Kalkbrenner. They kind of have a little more style of game than Plumlee and Musa do, but I think that he's going to play a big role, be a very important leader in that locker room come the regular season. Can Musa take the next step that we've seen guys like KJ Simpson and Tajon Salon show that they're prepared to take? Can Diabate take that next step as well? We saw just not a great offensive showing last year in his games, just under 6 points a game average from him. But the defensive impact was there. Is that going to take an uptick as well? It's going to be important for his game to come along and develop, as he will be a vital piece on the inside come the regular season for the Hornets. Kalkbrenner going to be the same way. I know there was talks about him maybe staying down in the G League and developing there, but again, I don't think there's going to be enough bodies for that to happen. I think Kalkbrenner is going to have to kind of get thrown into the fire and play some NBA minutes early. So leaning on that experience, that knowledge, that wisdom that someone like a Mason Plumlee can provide to those 2 young players is going to be very important. And then the minutes he can give out on the floor, we know he's not a slouch by any means. Plumlee can come in and provide some good quality minutes. He's got a little in his offensive bag, as well as he's been able to develop a better jump shot this late into his career. He's also still a rebounder on the inside. He is a 7-footer, so that big body does help no matter what. It'll be important to see Plumlee and his impact have kind of a trickle down effect on the 2 younger guys beneath him at the 5 position. Moving to the 4s, Miles Bridges, Tajon Salon, Grant Williams, and Daquan Jeffries currently, as it sits, are the power forwards listed on the Hornets roster right now. Now, we know there's some questions up in the air with Daquan Jeffries. It's been mentioned down in the chat. You guys seem to think he's one of the next ones on the way out. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but what we're doing here is talking about who's on the roster on this beautiful Wednesday, and Daquan Jeffries is included in that. Now, health is going to be vital at this position, As we know, Miles Bridges has a tumultuous injury history to Jean Salon. We're not sure exactly how healthy he is right now, and he's coming off of a season ending injury. Grant Williams also returning from an injury, and then Daquan Jeffries as well. Just the question mark that he is on the roster as a whole. The other three names I mentioned, getting them healthy, keeping them healthy is going to be vital. All three of those guys could have major impacts on the Hornets roster this season. We know Miles Bridges, one of the young core members, with Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, who we'll talk about tomorrow. Bridges and him staying healthy is going to be vital to the success of the Hornets. Going to need him on offense to be one of the scorers for this Hornets team, and then he can play a role on the defensive end as well, as he can guard the fours. He can, if need be, drop down, guard a five. If he has to, go up and guard a three as well. So getting Bridges healthy, keeping him that way, going to be super important, as he's going to be one of the more key pieces to the Hornets' success going forward. Same with Grant Williams. He comes in as an athletic defender. We know what he can do on that end of the floor, but his jump shooting ability as well. He's a 45% career shooter, with Miles Bridges being a 42% career shooter. So both of them can shoot the basketball, and it's going to be vital to have them on the floor to do that. And then Tajon Salon at this position, he can also drop down and play the five. We'll probably see him do a lot of that as well. But his summer league, you've heard me rant and rave about that. He looked great out in Vegas this for the stretch that he was on the floor. His offseason development has definitely been taking hold. It's working. His game is changing, improving, and he seems like he's more ready for the NBA game and to show why he was that 6 overall pick in last year's draft. Him staying healthy, him getting healthy is going to be vital, as his minutes will also be important down on the low block. Again, shooting is going to be vital here at the four position as well. Williams, Bridges, and then Salon, we've seen in clips, we've seen in the games he played out in Vegas, his jump shot has improved as well. He's even added a nice little fadeaway turnaround in his bag, which we saw him put on out a couple times in Las Vegas as well. So offensively, the four position is full of shooters on this Hornets team. Going to see if Salon can join that club as well. Should be a lot of promise at this position for the Hornets going forward. Again, still with the question surrounding Daquan Jeffries, if he's going to be on the roster. If he is on the roster, he too can make an impact at that four position, as he's a strong defender, not a bad jump shooter in his own right. Now, at the wing position, we've got a lot of youth. That's going to be the question there. This is one of the younger positions on an already very, very young roster. At the three, we've got Con Knipple, Josh Green, Liam McNeely, and then Grant Williams as well at the three. And we mentioned him at the four, but he can also bump up and guard the threes and play out on the wing with his offensive ability as well. Brandon Miller also probably going to drop down. We'll see him play some three as well, but we'll talk more about Brandon tomorrow in the backcourt preview, as he will predominantly be playing the two guard. We'll see if him and Colin Sexton and LaMelo are all on the floor at the same time, then that will push Brandon Miller down to the three. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Now, I know we said we weren't going to do starters and things like that, but currently the projected starter at the three is Con Knipple. I say that because it just speaks again to the youth of this position. Wouldn't be shocked to see Brandon Miller get some starts down there, especially if Charles Lee decides he likes the rotation of LaMelo and Colin Sexton at the 1 and 2. That's going to move Brandon Miller down just because he's too much of a star. We know how important he is. He can't not be in the starting lineup if he is available. So that is the way that he would get moved down. Con would then probably be forced to come off the bench, but we'll see how that goes. If Con is the starter, however, he's going to be thrown into the fire right away, and his time out in Vegas has shown that he should be more than ready for that. His drive, his hyper competitiveness, his overall will to win games is going to be vital for him to be a starter as well. It's going to help him take that next step and become an NBA ready basketball player. Grant, again, Williams is clearly the most experienced at this position, and he's probably going to take a lot of the minutes on the wing as well, especially in the early going, just until the younger guys behind him, McNeely, Knipple, even Josh Green, until they kind of find their way into this rotation and see how they're going to fit and what their NBA style games should be. Again, Williams is more than capable of shooting the basketball, playing defense on really any position on the floor. That's one of the bright spots about Grant Williams. One of the things that added the excitement that it did when he was brought in last season. Now that he should be healthy, we've seen him back in the gym working out while the team was out in Vegas. If Williams can stay healthy, he'll be vital at multiple positions, as we have discussed going through. Now, there are some questions about Josh Green, much like those that linger around Daquan Jeffries. Is Green even going to be on the roster come regular season? If he does remain with the team, him and McNeely will have to battle it out for the leftover minutes down there at the 3 position, which could be a good thing for Liam, giving him a little bit of extra time to kind of learn as he goes without being thrown in the fire or thrown to the wolves. Like we were saying about Knipple, McNeely can have that time to understand what his role should be, to better develop his shot that's already really good, and then even further work on his defensive prowess on that side of the ball as well, while always being a set of fresh legs to come in and give the Hornets a spark that way if need be. Now, aside from Grant Williams, because we liked him at the 4 position, Josh Green would technically be the most experienced player on this list. He's got 291 games under his belt, but again, we don't know if he's even going to be a Hornet come regular season, so we can't really rely on that too much yet. Once that seems a little more final, whatever the decision is with him, we'll know a little bit more about his role with the team. But if he does need to come in and play that 3 position, then he can absolutely do so. He's more than capable of holding his own in an NBA game as well. A lot of confidence, a lot of optimism coming out of this front court for the Charlotte Hornets. A lot of depth that we weren't used to having here in Charlotte. I know the 5 is kind of still limited. We've been talking here on Hornets Daily about making a move, getting another big piece in, but I didn't even mention Drew Peterson, who technically is on the roster, but I didn't want to do him because of the two-way deal, and still the question that lingers with what is his role actually going to be. But if he's able to carve himself out a nice spot in the rotation, then you can add him to this front court as well. At 6'9", he can drop down and play the 5 if his defensive ability allows for him to do so. So that's just another name, another big that may be able to be added to the rotation and bring some useful minutes to this Hornets roster. Well, like I say, folks, we're just going to do the front court today. We're going to get into the back court tomorrow. A lot more names on that list. As you know, if you've been following along, there is a logjam, an overabundance, a cluster, if you will, of names in the backcourt, in the guard rooms here this summer as we sit. So we'll talk about that. We'll go over all of those tomorrow. As always, thank you guys so much for watching along, joining in with us. Let me know what you think about this current roster, the way it sits. Maybe you guys throw me your projected depth chart just based off the front court positions that we have listed here today. I'll read over those. We'll talk about them in tomorrow's show as well. But again, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow on another episode of Hornets Daily.